people say places like these are haunted. But what if the real story isn't the place? For centuries, we've tried to explain fear by turning it into something we can understand. Ghost stories, legends, whispers in the dark. But what happens when the mind starts filling in the gaps? Because sometimes the scariest thing isn't what's out there. It's what we convince ourselves is. And once that thought settles in, it doesn't go away. Skiles Test Park, on the northeast side of Indianapolis, was once the estate of Skiles Test himself. A place built with intention, great design, and control. After his death, the property fell into decay, and the structures that remained took on a different kind of presence. Over time, stories began to grow, and the locals spoke of the House of Blue Lights, a legend of the home that once stood on the property, which would glow, supposedly, with an eerie light and tied to strange experiments and unexplained events. For someone that grew up going to school just down the road from here, this park wasn't just a place to explore, it was also the place where the stories began.
This place was kind of introduced me from obviously peers when you're young because of what the story was behind Skiles Test and this land and where he lived and its haunting, so to speak. So how I perceived it was I didn't know any different because I only knew what was transcended between kids at that point in your life about the folklore of the Skiles Test legacy and all the things that went along with it. It was about being haunted. Till later, obviously, I didn't know that it really wasn't. When you're a kid, you're very interested in these things and seeing them in person. A bunch of us kids took a trail hike over here. All of us were pretty scared, and we actually ran, maybe a protective dog or some large dog that was kind of maybe protecting the property at that point, even though obviously he wasn't here anymore, just so things wouldn't get torn up and destructive by vandals or somebody coming in to do something like that. Well, my perception once I saw it was when we came up here, it was before they tore everything down in the mid-70s. I actually did see like the swimming pool, the corner of the house, the fence, the blue lights aura. I don't know, in my mind I remember it, but I can't tell you if that was just because I was perceiving it because that was the folklore about it, but definitely did see the old house, what was left of it, obviously in complete disrepair at that point. Could be. Looks like we're wandering up here on a pretty good piece of foundation. For sure. This is definitely the foundation, most likely of the home. I don't know if an outbuilding would have been this big. See all the concrete? This is a giant corner right here. So this makes complete sense, for sure. Part of my mind from being a kid, perceives it what it was, the folklore and what it is. But since we know the history of it now and what it really is and how things were documented, when you're growing up, this was like hollow ground. You couldn't even go on it, right? It is surreal to be here after all these years and what it meant then, because obviously when you're young, 13, 14, 15 years old, your world's pretty small. You haven't been outside of the realm of this area. So that was the life that was given then. But now since we've heard the whole story, obviously his wife was not buried in the pool or viewed in a casket that was above ground with blue lights wrapped around it. No, that was not true. Actually, both of his wife and his ex-wife lived after Skiles Test died in 1964. But you didn't know that then. That wasn't part of the folklore and the rumors for a kid.
To understand how stories lead to fear taking shape, I decided to set up a simple experiment. 2 people, same location. Subject 1 has no knowledge of the place, no stories, no expectations. Subject 2 knows everything, every rumor, every detail that's been passed down. Nothing about the environment changes, only what they believe.
You know, as I got up here and kind of just looked around and focused on kind of bigger things, the river down there looks beautiful, and just the overall scenery of things. Instead of looking at, you know, something specific, I kind of opened up my mind and decided to look at something bigger than just train tracks. The only thing that kind of creeps me out, kind of seems unusual, is that stick down there sticking up outside of the water. I don't know why. So I'm getting the one that's kind of closest to us, yeah.
After we spent some time exploring the bridge, I thought it was time to fill him in on why we were really here.
I didn't really feel like a haunted. I didn't really have that kind of perspective that you touched on. You know, when we drove through and we're walking up here, I just thought we were just going to some old bridge. You know, kind of what the hell were you bringing me here for? But no, this is cool. I like nature, so this is relaxing to me. Would I come here at night? Absolutely not. I thought the scenery during the day was awesome, brighter, happier sensation. And I definitely would not have figured out that this place was, quote, haunted or rumors were true.
And most people come by today and feel like they're being watched. They hear footsteps behind them,
Awesome. Can't wait.
and there's sudden uneasiness.
Yeah, I can already feel it right now. I mean, even just driving under the bridge, like a little bit of chills, just, it just does not feel good.
The main story though, the crying boy who drowned in the creek under, that's the main story. Some people say you can hear him at night.
How long ago, do you know?
No solid historical record confirming this exact event.
Dude, that's creepy. That is just...
Looks like it's about to fall apart too. Very symbolic. Are we going up this way?
Yeah. Awesome. Going up right to your right.
Up here? Okay. Am I going first? Awesome. This isn't sketchy at all. Jeez. This is crazy.
The bridge didn't change, but the way it was experienced did, and beneath it, I wanted to understand why.
Honestly, I think you just talking about it psyched me out more than like being here. I think under the bridge feels a lot more eerie than up top. Up top it just kind of feels like some railroad tracks, but I mean down here, I mean definitely get the heebie-jeebies. Like, I don't know. I think the fact that the water is right there and that's probably where the kid fell in. That's just, yeah, no, it's definitely some mind-boggling stuff. I've never been to any place that's been claimed to be haunted, so it's definitely a new experience for me, and I'm not digging it. To a certain standpoint, they convince themselves that there's something wrong with the place, but that's only half of it. The other half is being in the atmosphere that psychs you out. Obviously, you have this predetermined makeup of what you think it's going to be like, and then you get there, might not be as creepy and not nearly as much like paranormal activity, but like psyching yourself is only 50% of it. I think the other half of it is the actual atmosphere and the environment you're in. You already have your mind made up of what this movie and what to expect, or this location and what to expect here, but like nothing can really prepare you for what it actually is. I'm out.
After testing how a story influences perception, I traveled to a new location to see if that same effect would still exist. Sometimes beauty has a way of making people forget what came before it.
Stories of paranormal activity began appearing probably from the very beginning. The first one that I actually recall hearing was with the stock market crash of 1929. We have no proof, but we have heard that people actually leaped from their balconies to their deaths. We have no proof, as I say, but people had lost everything, and so they felt there was no reason to live at that point. I'm sure the stories have varied from time to time because this building has been used for so many different things. Of course, first it was a hotel. During World War I, it became an army hospital. Then it returned as a hotel. Following that, it became a Jesuit seminary. We know because of the cemetery on the property that some Jesuits passed away while they were living here. I think guests who actually come here now come here because they've heard of this place and they want to see the beauty that has been put into the restoration. I'm sure there are guests who come here wondering about past stories that they have heard, but I would say for the most part, probably people come here just to enjoy their time while here. I don't really feel as though the beauty of this particular place has been tarnished the least bit because of things that have happened here in the past. Because this was such a remote area, there has always been many stories that were scattered throughout the area that lots of gangsters came to this area because they could literally hide out. So many people say, oh, definitely Al Capone was here. Others say Al Capone was never here. So we have two degrees there. We have some who truly believe he was, some who say he absolutely never was. I know one man who was here. He was married here on the front steps of the West Baden Springs Hotel, and his name was Big Jim Colosimo, and he ran Chicago. So we know he was a gangster, and we know he was married here. So if one was here, why wouldn't there have been others?
Are there more paranormal stories here at the French Lick Resort?
I would say at French Lick. I have heard many more at French Lick, yes. There is one floor, the 7th floor, in the back wing that goes toward the west, that some of the housekeepers will not work in alone because doors will slam for no apparent reason. I don't understand it. I don't know if it's a breeze. I don't know. I can't understand it. And I can't explain it. I have not experienced it myself. I have not been in that area by myself either. So that might be something that I need to do to see how fast it takes me to get to the elevator. You know, yes.
The stories had done exactly what they were meant to do. They pulled us in.
Wow. It's definitely more cool up here. It smells different over here. Do you smell that? Looks like we reached the end. How was your experience with the 6th floor?
Chilling.
It was
Literally,
cold.
literally chilling.
It was cold.
I don't know if that's just
But yeah.
AC, but that's just.
But I did not feel anything.
What's the smell? It smells so
It was the smell. That's just because it's old, bro.
After going up to the haunted floor of the French Lick Resort, I had only gotten a taste of what it felt like. Now, I wanted to go all in to find out if what I knew alters my perception. In Mitchell, Indiana, sits a place known for its reputation as one of the most active paranormal locations in the state, the Whispers Estate.
Start getting its reputation for being haunted.
Well, that largely depends on who you speak with. There was a family that lived here in the mid 60s to
mid-70s. I won't say their last name. They've asked to remain, a certain amount of anonymity on their part. They had a young boy that passed away in the house. The closet behind me, we call it Gary's closet because he would play in there all the time. On certain evenings and days, that closet door will open on its own. I've tried to debunk it 100 times, stomping around, jumping around the room. It's clearly not any form of vibration. Something actually turns the doorknob. I think it's during that period that most local people that knew the house had a strong belief that the house was indeed haunted. I first came to Whispers just with some friends because a student had told us about it. Visited the house twice with not much going on, and then had some family members ask me to come back a third time, and I told them, I said, well, listen, I've been twice and it was very quiet. I'll go a third time with you, but 3 strikes and this place is out, I won't come back. And then on that third visit, we had activity from the moment we walked in the door till we left, and got to the point where I started bringing students. I teach parapsychology class. The previous owner and I got to know each other pretty well from that, and he decided to sell the house, and I think I was one of the first people he called to say, hey, would you be interested in buying the place? Well, he got the title, the Whispers Estate, I think back when Jared Marshall and his wife, I think she might have been the one that gave it that name. You hear so many voices in the house. Sometimes they're disembodied, like you and I could be sitting here and we might hear someone talking like in the next room. Sometimes it's whispering, and then sometimes it's loud. I've personally heard screams in the house. They almost always sound like female screams. That's probably one of the most reported things that happen in the house. But doors open, doors slam, things move, coins fly off tables. And unfortunately, there are people that have been to the house, have been scratched, pushed, had their hair pulled. We've had people pushed down the stairs, had to go to the hospital a couple different times. During the tour, you'll get people that come in and are very comfortable as we go through the house and share the history of the house. You can see people get visibly uncomfortable. I don't know if they start hyperventilating, they get very lightheaded. I've seen people that we've had to let leave the house, sit in their car out front, or even sit on the front porch just because of that. I don't know if that's a psychosomatic thing where they convince themselves that, my goodness, I'm in a haunted house, or it's real. And I don't know there's any way to test that or prove or disprove it. So most of the time I just take people at their word. Well, yeah, this happened. I say, okay, why would you lie about that,
The more I learned about the house, the more uneasy I began to feel.
Some people are convinced this is probably the most active room in the house. This is the servants' quarters. I've probably had more experiences in this room than every part of the house. This church bench here, people will sit on it, it will shake, something will scratch on it.
I kept learning more and more that changed the way I viewed the place. And not just ghost stories and rumors, but stories that were documented and true.
The last recorded death we had in the house, and we've documented 29 deaths in the house. The doctor lost 23 patients in the house that we know of, but we can't prove more or less. The last recorded death happened right here. The guy's name was Virgil, and he collapsed. He was 42 years old, died of a heart attack on this spot. I think that's the story we get from people. Wow. And people will go in this closet and hear voices, and this is a really interesting location. The local legend and the folklore that surrounds the house, there's a lot of it. Many locals know all about the house. That perception is created in that. The little girl who supposedly died in a fire in 1910 on Christmas Eve. I have probably over 100, at least 100 people since I bought the house that claimed to see the little girl in the house, Rachel. We've documented a whole bunch of the legend of the house, a bunch of the supposed events in the house, and then there's some we can't document, and she's one of the stories we can't document. But people all over the world know the story. There is damage of a fire in the parlor where there was a hidden pocket door. It's definitely been a fire, you can see it. It's never been repaired. So there was a fire in the house, but whether a little girl was attached to it, we'll probably never really know. And have a video on our website. I don't know if you were able to see that, but clearly looks like a little girl spinning around in a circle in a white dress right behind me here. Once again, when I first got that video, I said, did they fake something? But we have 2 cameras on the property. They're on the front porch and the front door. It's the only entrance into the house. And they didn't sneak a little kid into the house, but it's a little child. At some point, you have to accept there's things that happen. There's just no way to explain it. This is Rachel's room. As we have been told, and it goes back decades, it's reported she died on December 27th, 3 days after the accident. Only known picture we have of her right here. This was supposedly put in the newspaper years after her death. I don't know if her sister put it in there or not. It's an interesting room because so many people experience phenomena like the beach balls getting knocked off the bed. And I tried to debunk it. I was convinced it was air. But when they get knocked off the bed, they get smacked, you'll hear a poof. And if you go to the website, there's a couple really good videos that people captured and things just getting smacked off the bed.
Right.
I'm at a room for dolls. They bring her gifts, they leave her money, candy. So many people have experienced interesting phenomena in this room as far as the little girl interacting with people. She seems to be much more receptive to young people and females. Men, adult men, I don't know. The belief is if she's shy, I don't know what. I've had very few interactions trying to get something to happen in here, but boy, so many people have.
What I learned next stayed with me.
One thing we were able to prove that I had largely ignored when I bought the house is the doctor back in his period, like in the American Civil War, they did a lot of amputations back then to stop the spread of infection. And there was local legend and folklore that the doctor would do amputations and bury, amputated body parts out in the backyard. And it will be a year ago this coming September, I had some people come. The female, one of the young ladies, said her brother worked for the Kentucky State Police as a forensic investigator and had sonar equipment. And he would look for missing bodies and said he can bring that equipment and see if there's any bones buried out there. And he found 14 different locations in our backyard where there are bones buried. One location up against the garage, about 7 layers of bones. So the doctor was doing a lot of amputations and burying bones out there. So once again, sometimes the local legend and folklore is true, and I get evidence that it's very exciting to get that documentation.
After learning everything about this place, it became a very different experience.
Our sensation creates perception, our perception creates our reality. I do think the mind is one of those things that people can convince themselves they're experiencing paranormal. Just like people who suffer from hypochondriasis, they convince themselves they're sick. And they go to a doctor, doctors, well, there's nothing medically wrong with you. So I do think that happens and probably happens often.
By the end of the conversation, it became clear how powerful the mind can be when perception and fear begin to work together.
That's a really good question. When people who have no knowledge of the house experience something, that's a really good question. I think it probably just depends on the individual. My brother-in-law, he's passed away, but right before I bought the house, he was a property owner. I said, why don't you come and look at the house with me and see what you think? And I didn't really share any of the history of the house. And he was a strong non-believer. And when he visited the house, he walked through the whole thing and didn't once suggest he felt anything strange or weird. And when we left, I said, that place is supposed to be haunted. He said, well, I don't believe any of that stuff. And once again, if someone is a cynic and they got a closed mind, I'm not sure they will experience anything. I mean, a cynic has that closed mind where you can't prove it to them. They're going to revoke it. So I do think that's the case with a lot of people. I've never done that experiment. That's interesting. You got me intrigued now. Maybe I should find someone who has never been anywhere but they believe in ghosts and bring them here on some type of pretext that I need your help with something decorating. I don't know. And just to do my own little study on that. That's pretty interesting. You've got me thinking about that now.
I filled Rich in on the previous acts of my project.
Basically a placebo, someone who knew nothing and then someone who did know something. So you had kind of a different study going on. That's a good way to do that. So I got a cross-reference point with two different people. And the one that didn't know anything, didn't experience anything, or didn't feel anything. There you go.
But the reason I didn't want to tell you information about it is I didn't want it to hinder your experience or give you a prior perspective before you came here. Because if I told you before we left my house, oh, we're going to a haunted bridge, you probably would have had in your mind like, oh, I'm going to a haunted place. So you would have had that experience today like, oh, you got here like, oh, I do maybe feel a haunted, maybe I feel a certain vibe, but you didn't feel anything. Mainly probably because I didn't tell you anything. I didn't tell you this place was haunted.
Yeah, I didn't really feel like a haunted.
What frightened me the most wasn't the places themselves, but realizing how easily something you hear can shape your reality.